Hello, it's Michael from Holy Spirit Activism. As I told you 2 videos ago, I've written a book! Chapter called Charismatic Anabaptism, featured in this anthology, A Living Alternative. What then is Charismatic Anabaptism? Well, in my last video I gave you a song where I explained that an Anabaptist is basically a Christian who thinks that violence is good, inequality is good, freedom of religion is bad. Wait a minute. No, sorry. No, that was Martin Luther. Yeah. An Anabaptist is a Christian who thinks that violence is bad, inequality is bad, but freedom of religion is good. That's it. And the word charismatic then comes from the Greek word charismata, which means gifts of grace, which is what Paul is calling the spiritual gifts that he talks about in 1 Corinthians 12 and 14. And these gifts include miracles, tongues, prophecy, healing, as well as wisdom and faith. Now, my thesis in the chapter Charismatic Anabaptism is that the Anabaptist values of pacifism and social justice are not incompatible with the charismatic values of miracles and supernatural spiritual gifts, but that they actually benefit from each other. It is, in my opinion, not only natural but necessary to combine signs and wonders with peace and justice. And to defend this thesis, I use the Bible, church history, as well as modern testimony. Now, in the Bible, it's very clear that Jesus and the apostles combine signs and wonders with peace and justice. Obviously, the ministries was very miraculous with many healings and exorcisms and other kinds of miracles, while they also promoted peace and justice. Jesus taught non-violence. The apostles and their followers chose to be martyrs in face of persecution instead of fighting back, while they also practiced community of goods. Jesus told rich people to sell everything they had, and these aspects were combined, so that many miracles actually promoted peace and justice in themselves. For example, when Jesus did food miracles, or when blind and lame beggars were healed, then they obviously escaped both the ailment they had and also the poverty. When it comes to church history, it's very interesting to see that early Anabaptism was charismatic. The early Anabaptists believed in miracles, and there are many examples of prophecies in early Anabaptist communities in Europe. We find speaking in tongues. We even find claims of people being raised from the dead and healed from sicknesses. So the Anabaptist movement in the 16th century was basically a charismatic movement. And we also see that in the early Pentecostalism, which is famous for its emphasis on signs and wonders and spiritual baptism, the early Pentecostals, especially in the United States of America, were pacifist and refused to engage in the First World War, for example, while they also condemned the brutal capitalist system that exploits the poor and favors the rich. And so they really promoted peace and justice. Then unfortunately, many Anabaptists have gone away from the charismatic roots, so they are not emphasizing signs and wonders so much anymore, and many Pentecostals and charismatics have gone away from the activist roots, so that they don't emphasize peace and justice as much. But I argue that early Anabaptism and early Pentecostalism are very similar, even though it's very hard to find any historic connections, or like the early Pentecostal connection with Anabaptists or something like that. But to me, it's a sign that the Holy Spirit is truly working in the Protestant movement and restoring the New Testament church, both when it comes to signs and wonders as well as peace and justice. In the chapter, I also present a lot of modern testimonies from people that I either know or am very inspired by. For example, Heidi Baker, who you've already seen on this YouTube channel, as well as my friend Simon Ådahl, Surprise Atoli in South Africa, who's raised 8 people from the dead, including Francis, whom I also have published a video about here on YouTube, and also Bob Ekblad, an American preacher who is also very passionate about combining signs and wonders with peace and justice. So that's a short presentation of my chapter. If you want to read more, you can obviously get the book, A Living Alternative, and read the chapter in its totality. But you can also find blog posts and articles that are written on my website, holyspiritactivism.wordpress.com, where I a deep digger into how to pursue the gifts of the Holy Spirit, how to experience miracles in your life, how to preach the gospel, and how to promote peace and justice, how to fight poverty, and how to live a non-violent life. So go and check that out. Thank you for watching. God bless you.